Use your pole, swing it. I can. I get so many people on a day-to-day basis like, oh, there's the dog catcher. Get out of here. I've been cursed out so many times for just
Oh.
riding down a street.
Hello and welcome to Critters and Cultures, the podcast where we explore the fascinating intersection of animal welfare and cultural diversity. I'm your host and veterinarian, Dr. Azalia Boyd, ready to uncover how cultural differences influence, enhance, and sometimes challenge the way we care for animals and relate to each other. Join us on this journey through global traditions, learning from diverse perspectives, and advocating for empathy and respect in all of our interactions. Today, we have a very special guest joining us, Cheyè Groves, a 23-year-old from Detroit who works in animal control. And she brings such a unique and powerful perspective to the world of animal welfare. Her journey into this field is shaped by her personal experiences, including growing up in a complex environment that introduced her to both the challenges and the joy of rescuing animals. Cheyè's work in animal control comes with some intense realities. She faces high euthanasia rates, the mental health impacts of the job, and even serious safety concerns. Despite these challenges, Cheyè's approach, her work with compassion, respect, and a deep understanding of the cultural nuances within the communities that she serves. Today, we'll dive into her story, the lessons she's learned, and what we can all take away from her journey. Cheyè, welcome to Critters and Cultures.
Thank you. It is so great to be here.
I'm so excited that we met in the emergency room, right? In the clinic. I was doing an emergency shift and you came in with this very sweet puppy. And I can just tell from who you were, your demeanor, that you were just completely heartbroken behind this baby's story. And I was just so impressed with you and the way that you were working through everything. But before we get into animal control and your work, I do want to ask you an icebreaker question. Okay. And the icebreaker question is, if you could swap lives with anyone for a week, whether that's real person or fictional, who would it be and why?
This is going to be somewhat general, but I would swap places with any social media influencer that has at least 1 million followers. And I'm saying that because they have access to people. They have access to people's emotions, to influence people and create awareness for things that actually matter. Not saying they all do. If I had that platform, I would use it for the right reason. There are so many charities, so many different organizations, people that I wish had more attention on them. And if I had that platform, I would just shed the spotlight.
I love that. And this is exactly what I mean by I knew exactly who you were when I saw you actually in work. And to want to switch places with influencers to shine light on other people is incredibly beautiful. And so thank you so much for sharing that. I always feel like the icebreaker questions get the audience to know the guest a little bit faster. So I know that the guests know you based on that answer. Let's jump into your work then. Of course, we want to know about Cheyè. So tell us a little bit about your journey growing up. How did you get into animal control?
It was a rocky road, but my mother was dating a guy that had an interesting background, to say the absolute least about it. He used to take me on errands that he had to run. And whenever he would see a dog that looked good, I'm just walking down the street, just a random dog. He would pull over and try to go get that dog. I was a kid. I was probably maybe 10, less than 10. So that experience, I really feel like catapulted me into what I'm doing today. I was grabbing dogs off the street. We were taking them home, bathing them, feeding them, raising them, training them, and eventually breeding them. And, he was selling puppies. That brought me to where I am. But how I actually got in the field, I just needed a job. And I found a TV show on Hulu called Animal Control. Watched it, thought it looked fun, found a shelter near me that was hiring. Took a little while, but we got the job, got the foot in the door.
When people see animal control shows on TV, I'm sure it is quite different from what you actually experience in real life. That, aside from being a veterinarian, I also would fantasize about being an animal control officer, right? Because it was like, I'm rescuing, I'm saving the day, I'm, potentially working with dogs that are aggressive, but I can manage it. It was like a dream, actually, to get into animal control, especially after watching all of the shows on TV. So you started doing this with your mom's boyfriend who wanted you to get the dogs in and then was breeding them. Do you know if was he using the dogs more as breeding for money, or was there an emotional attachment? Do you remember there being an emotional attachment
I
to
do
the dogs?
remember, yes, I do remember there being an emotional attachment. He was a money driven individual, so he was always finding different ways to make money. But he did
Okay.
also happen to love dogs.
Yeah.
So he really instilled that love in me also.
But it does go to show how emotionally intense, loss can be, and, seeing dogs being injured and how that pulls on your heartstrings. So working in animal control is emotionally intense as well, right? When we had our little mini chat, you said that you deal with high euthanasia rates. Tell us more about what that looks like on a day-to-day basis, and how do you cope with mental health impacts of the work?
So I will say very specifically, I used to work at Clayton County Animal. That was the first municipality I was hired at for animal control. And considering that it is a county, they did put down a lot of dogs. And my first week on the job, I want to say we put down about 17 dogs.
You said you put down 17 dogs the
About
first.
17. Yeah, in my first
Wow.
week.
Okay.
Yes. The way their training program was set, they really take everybody through kennel tech life. So you're cleaning, you're feeding, walking. If euthanasias have to happen, you are there for the euthanasias. It was very, very hard for me to be in that environment, to have to watch a veterinarian put a dog down one after the other, after the other, after the other. And then I was expected to go behind the vet after the dog was dead and put the body into a trash bag, two trash bags actually, tie it up, put it in the freezer. That was very, very tough for me. I was crying a lot. There are still days where, even now, I'll just remember a dog from back then or a dog from last week, and I just have to just drop a few tears about it because it's tough. I'm not used to experiencing this much death after I'm going to potentially rescue this animal and now it's dying because of me. So I'm still trying to work through not feeling so responsible for others' lives.
And you say because of you, because you're the one that brought the dog into the facility?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it's
Are there ever times that you don't want to bring a dog into a facility? Or a lot of dogs, there's this debate on whether a dog is actually a stray dog or whether it's a community dog, whether the dog belongs to someone right in the neighborhood and they're getting picked up because someone called wrongfully to say, come and pick this dog up. Is there ever a time that you feel like you don't want to pick up a dog or cat? Is there a time that you have decided not to?
So I will say that we get a lot of calls about animals. Oh, it seems like a friendly dog, but it's kind of just being a nuisance. It's tearing up trash. And when people call through our dispatch, our 911 service, these are all tracked incidents. So if I go out and I see this dog and I don't take this dog, there could potentially be somebody calling, hey, your animal control officer was out here and they didn't take the dog. They just kind of looked at it and rolled past it. What you don't see is that I'm potentially saving this dog's life. If I could go and knock on some doors and find an owner to this dog rather than just taking it into the shelter, I'm going to try to do that. Because
Yeah.
that's the reality of the situation. As soon as that dog hits the back of my truck and we're going to county, it could contact parvo, any other type of disease, or it could just be euthanized. I
Yeah.
have done it. Sometimes I can't do it in certain situations, but it has been done.
What about your coworkers? Do you ever get resistance when you're trying to say, you know what? I'm going to try to find this dog's home. Obviously, it's a friendly dog. It's tearing up the trash, but I'm going to knock on a few doors. Do you face resistance from your coworkers, or do you have a lot of support when you're trying to do that?
With where I used to work, it's kind of hard to say. The coworkers that I had, we share pretty much the same feelings towards animals, but I can say that there were people that wanted to pick up every dog that they found, regardless of what that meant for that dog later down the line. where I work now, there's only one other ACO with me, and we feel the same. If
And
that
what is
animal is
ACO?
animal control officer.
Okay.
So where I am now, we feel the same. If that animal isn't bothering anybody, it's not a nuisance. If the shelter has space, we might take it. If that dog doesn't have a microchip, but if it's not, we'll just leave it alone.
Yeah. When we spoke to you, mentioned adapting your approach based on the community's demographics. Can you share how your cultural background and experiences influence the way that you interact with the public, communities, animals? Do you think there's a difference?
Sometimes I have to do a slight code switch. It's all about gauging the energy of the person that I'm working with. I have to deal very directly with the public and the animals, of course. But let's say, for example, I get out on a call and there's possible 24 history, which in police terms, that is a demented person or just somebody with mental issues. I have to come across a little more gently. I have to not be too direct or too passive aggressive when I speak. I try not to do that anyways. Unless I have prior history with someone that is just blatantly neglecting their animal, then I might be a little more passive aggressive with that person. But it's only because I feel like I offer a lot of resources to people that don't have certain things. So if you're not utilizing those resources, then I feel as though you truly just don't care about your animal. And
Yeah.
that can be frustrating to deal with, but I do
And are
have
these
to.
resources that you're providing, or are these resources that are provided from the county?
Mostly these are resources from one organization. They're called the Happy Paws and Tails Foundation. They are based in Forest Park. It is a woman and her husband. They offer food assistance. They offer like doggy daycare, walking. They'll pop by if you need time to, have your dog played with while you're at work or anything like that. They've gotten people different rabies shots and different vaccines. They've even helped residents get their dogs euthanized if the dog was injured and they didn't have the resources to do it at the time. So
Yeah.
they help with a lot, rehoming, fostering, and everything like that.
And this is a nonprofit in the Metro Atlanta area.
Happy
Okay.
Paws and Tails Foundation. They are great.
Happy Paws and Tails Foundation. That is beautiful. I gave us a seminar last year and it was called Policing Poverty. The fact that individuals feel like animal control is one, they're coming to take people's pets away, and two, coming to give them tickets for things that they need resources. Like you said, you mentioned that organization about food and, someone to come and walk the dog. And sometimes those things are financially out of reach for some families. And then here's animal control hitting them with a ticket, right? Can you speak to that at all?
I can. I get so many people on a day-to-day basis like, oh, there's the dog catcher. Get out of here. I've been cursed out so many times for just
Oh,
riding down a street. But my community knows me as a friendly face. I'm not here to cause issues for you. I am a very lenient person, but I am here for the welfare of that animal. I am also here for the protection of the community. So if you happen to own an animal that is threatening the community, I'm going to be a problem.
I commend that. And I think that you, at such a young age, have been able to figure out the differences, right? On when do you need to be stern? When do you need to be respected? When do you need to actually do enforcement, right? Especially when it comes to dealing with people of different mental health backgrounds, people who feel potentially targeted from police authorities. So just kudos to you for the work that you do. And I'm sure that many people don't realize the challenges that you said ACO, animal control officers, face, right? Lack of respect, dealing with mutilated animals. Tell us a story. You had something that you shared with me before.
Yes. So I have a coworker that is actually at Clayton County. He told me about a story, a call that he had where there was a man that apparently was on some sort of drug and he cut off the head of his neighbor's dog and tried to bury it. Police were called. Man was still on scene in the back of the police car when my old coworker arrived. And when he was told what happened, he was completely distraught. Completely distraught. He had to take that dog's head off the ground, put it in a box, and get it shipped off to a lab. He had to dig the rest of that dog's body up and put it in the back of his truck. It was traumatizing. just saying it and imagining it, I would have had to go home that day. They would have had to fire me. I wouldn't be able to do it.
How do you guys cope? How do you cope with just the stress? How do you check in with your own mental health? What protects you?
I journal a lot. I journal a lot. But the
Okay.
department that I work for now, we actually have a employee assistance program which has different mental health resources for us. I also do snack a lot. So that will get me through whatever little jam that I'm in at the moment. But
Right. Give me some candy. Give me some chips. Give me a little something, a little comfort food. It's good that you use those resources, though. Some people don't take advantage of those resources, right? A fear of being judged or stigmatized. So it is really, really good that you take advantage of that and that you do journal and to get all of those feelings out instead of them being pent up.
meditation as well.
Oh,
Even when
meditation
I'm
as well.
yeah, even when I'm at work, if I can find 10 minutes to go somewhere that I'll be undisturbed, I'll go sit in some grass and just take a breather.
That is so good. But you did mention to me that you were kind of potentially losing the passion for working in animal control. You still feel that way today?
Unfortunately, yes. It
Yeah.
is a very political field, and I never knew what that looked like till I got here, and I realized how little control we have over animal control.
What do you mean by that? Give me an example.
So, as an animal control officer, as let's say a animal control supervisor at Clayton County, they have no say so over which animals go to sleep. They have no say so of when we can implement different deals, or I don't want to say deals. They have no control over when they can implement different prices for animals, like a price going down, fees being cut. There's no control. So the government entities that basically own and employ us, they have all of the say so, but they don't have any passion. They don't have any of the real knowledge or understanding. They just put the policies in place and we have to follow suit.
Ugh, that breaks my heart, especially when so many, I'm sure, get so attached and want to make certain changes that don't seem like it's easy to change. What can people who are not in animal control do to support you and others in the field? How can we help make a difference?
I would say to find your local animal organization and just donate whatever. What if it's even a leash, a blanket, a bag of dog food, just donate. There's so many people in every different community that they need help.
And what would be the areas that you would say? Specific areas? Are we talking about marginalized areas,
Um,
low socioeconomic areas? Can someone just go out in their very rich area and donate?
you can donate anywhere, but in areas that you know are more what's the word
In need.
in need, yes.
Okay.
If it's more a low income area, I promise you those people they actually will need the help. I won't say that everybody that lives in a more low income area doesn't have income. It's just
Right.
it's about feasibility and what makes sense at a
Mhm.
we have plenty of houses in the area that I work that do not match the tax bracket of the area that
Right.
they're in, but it literally doesn't matter.
And I think, I like that you say that, find an organization that supports animal welfare and really care about the people as well and donate, right? Because that one bag of food could be what keeps, a little meat on the bones of that dog until the owners are able to get themselves back on their feet, right? Or that 1 month of heartworm prevention, right? Or that one dewormer or that one leash that's going to prevent the dog from getting hit by a car, right? So anything can potentially be useful and save a dog's life. And we keep saying dog. I'm assuming that you don't deal with cats very often.
We don't deal we do deal with cats, but cats in my community they are so loved and protected that we don't really have to pick up a lot of cats.
Okay.
We really only pick them up when certain community members call and they're having an issue with cats in the neighborhood. They feel like there's too many, they're scratching up their vehicles and things like that. Then we have to go and set traps for cats.
Yeah.
Unless I can get it to come up to me and then that I'll just take it away. But most
Yeah.
times with feral cats, I don't mess with.
Okay.
They're not gonna do good in the shelter. But thankfully, Clayton County actually has some rescues that just adopt and then a rescue and release, not to stress them out, put them in somebody's house.
Right. Yeah, because it's super hard to get outdoor cats to be indoor cats, right? I always hear that concern. Like, how do I get my cat to be an indoor cat? And it's like, good luck. There are a few resources, but it's going to take a lot of patience. So before we close, I just have maybe two more questions. Tell me and tell the audience maybe the craziest encounter that you've had working for animal control.
This is actually when I first started on the job. When I was at Clayton County, myself, my FTO, which is my field training officer, and actually the girl that I work with right now at my current job, we got dispatched to a call where apparently, I believe it was 3 bullies, like XL bullies. They were loose and they pushed down an old lady. She broke her back and the dogs were still loose. Like, they were aggressive dogs, like seriously aggressive dogs. So when we got on scene, mind you, this is like my first week on the job. I don't know what I'm doing. I have a catch pole and nothing else, and I'm holding it for dear life. So we get out, we see the EMS, the EMT truck. They're standing outside with like rakes and shovels and just different random tools that they could find to protect themselves. So I'm already on guard because I don't know where the dogs are going to come from. As we are walking up to this guy's front door, we see these 3, they're not fat, they're buff.
Gosh.
3 buff, large dogs just charging at us from down the hill. And I remember my coworker screaming, "Use your pole, swing it, swing it!" I felt so horrible, but that dog was charging. I've never seen a dog
Oh
charging like
my
that before.
gosh.
That was the first time I was ever in that situation, and I felt so bad for hitting it, but it's me or the dog at this point.
Right.
So,
It's a dangerous job. I think people understand that it is a dangerous job and you have to make choices because at the end of the day, you want to go home, right? With your entire face, with
literally,
all of your hands, all of your feet, right? And all of the things. Yeah, I always knew that animal control was somewhat dangerous because you're dealing with dogs and cats that you have no idea. Do you guys ever get calls to take people's pets who are unhoused?
I've gotten one, and it was a homeless lady that she was off on the side of the highway, and she had her dog tied up to the street crossing sign.
Yeah.
And somebody thought that the dog was abandoned. So when I
Okay.
got there, the lady was like, "Hey, no, this is my dog. I just got out the hospital, and somebody stole my tent and everything that I had." So she literally had nothing all over again. I called the organization that I told you about, Happy Paws and Tails, and they put together a care package in like 20 minutes. Food, some treats, some water for her and the dog.
There is this lack of trust historically that Black communities have against police like authorities, right? And there's no question as to why that is. But I'm sure you're also getting some of that pushback. But I can also imagine that seeing your face as a Black female going into a Black community can also have joy and also can give people some relief at times that it's someone that they feel like they can relate to as well. So I'm sure that there's a mix on both, but you are in a really, really difficult job. And I commend you so much for the work that you're doing and the changes that you're making with educating communities, all communities, and being an advocate for the not only the pet, but also the people. So I do love that. So my final question for you is if there was one thing that you would want the audience to know, anything that you would want the audience to take away from you today, what would that message be?
Be kind. You don't know what other people are going through. You don't know what other people want out of life. You don't know who we are. Sometimes people don't even know who they are themselves. So view, don't absorb. That's something that I try to live by. Don't
Mm.
be affected by every single thing that you see. Just kind of view it like a first person game. You don't have to react to everything. You don't have to let everything invoke something out of you, especially anger. If you have no idea what's really going on, just watch because you might be impressed. You might find a friend. You never know.
Yeah.
And yeah, donate.
Yeah.
Always donate. You can donate, donate.
I love that. And I've never heard anyone put that in that way before. View, don't absorb. But I think it is something, especially when we're talking about empathizing with people. Some people think that when you empathize with folks, you have to feel their pain. And you don't necessarily have to do that. And the other key is donate. Thank you so much, Cheyè, for joining us on Critters and Cultures podcast today. And thank you to the audience for joining us on another episode of Critters and Cultures, where we explore the deep connections between humans, animals, and the world around us. Remember, every person has a story, every creature has a story, and every culture has its wisdom. Until next time, stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep discovering the wonders of our shared world. Thank you.